Hello, it's June 30th, 2017. Welcome to this Long Island News Update. A transportation state of emergency here in downstate New York. Cuomo has declared a state of emergency at the MTA. He's trying to act like he's the savior in all this. But in reality, all these problems have been caused by underfunding, poor management, and corruption. And Cuomo likes to think of himself as some kind of hero, but he is not. He's not a hero at all whatsoever. So, the latest situation on the rails. A couple days ago, we had an A train derail at 125th Street, and the train. What happened was there was some replacement rails that were stored next to the tracks or by the tracks that weren't secured. So when the train went by, they came loose and caused the train to derail. For much of the day into part of the next day, the subways, the A, C, B, D, were all screwed up because of that. The Central Park West line. So that was a big problem, and the MTA did correct it pretty quickly, though. The Long Island Railroad has far, far worse luck, and I tell you, the state of the Long Island Railroad is absolutely terrible. Yesterday, two major problems, both Amtrak's fault once again, what happened was in the morning yesterday, an inbound Port Washington train in the morning, very early in the morning, like 5:44 a.m., lost power as it was just about entering the East River Tunnel, lost power from the third rail and got disabled. And as a result, one tunnel was blocked. There were numerous cancellations, a lot of problems, people trapped on that train for about an hour, and poor organization once again at the Long Island Railroad because a lot of trains were being canceled at Jamaica. And then they had other trains that were express trains that were flyers that were not stopping at Jamaica to pick up these people. So they're standing there on an absolutely dangerously overcrowded platform while a train that could definitely take on more people sails right on through, and people have to squeeze on the remaining trains and literally fight their way onto an overcrowded train. Absolutely, again, terrible management. And I'm glad to see Joe LaHoda back at the reins of the MTA. I think he was a very good chairman. However, Nowakowski needs to go. All right, Nowakowski has been absolutely dreadful. Dreadful, because a lot of the mistakes that a lot of the things that they're making go to the management. Okay, there was a problem at Penn Station. That was Amtrak's fault, but the way they handled the situation at Jamaica was completely unacceptable. Every train should have been stopping there. Every train going to Penn should have been stopping there to pick up people. Even if it's not scheduled to stop there, it should have been stopped there to pick up people because other trains were being canceled. Now, a bigger problem, I think it was a bigger problem, occurred in the evening rush yesterday when power was lost to 12 tracks at Penn Station. Again, an Amtrak problem. It also caused a power outage in one of the tunnels as well, the East River tunnels. So, once again, a huge mess. I'm surprised it wasn't worse in the evening. New Jersey Transit got a lot of that too. Amtrak is really in some serious issues right now, and I really think that there are some serious problems at Amtrak. They haven't maintained stuff at Penn Station. Now everything is just falling apart at once. This is a crisis, and I think that Amtrak needs to step aside and cede control of Penn Station over to the MTA, or some kind of joint operation between MTA and New Jersey Transit, because what's going on right now is not acceptable. And I don't blame MTA in the least for withholding payments to Amtrak, because Amtrak has not, and is not properly maintaining Penn Station. And these issues are only getting worse instead of better. The summer track work schedules, which have come out, this track work that is going to be going on this summer isn't even for the Long Island Railroad. It's for the tracks that New Jersey Transit use. However, it ties in to us because if there's a problem on those tracks, it affects us because the New Jersey Transit has to use our tracks and whatnot. But a huge mess, state of emergency at the MTA. And you know, this is Cuomo acts like he has nothing to do with it. No, he has everything to do with it because he hasn't properly funded MTA. So now he's saying he's going to give $1 billion to the MTA to start fixing all the problems. But he talks more about the subway problems than the Long Island Railroad. And I know subway riders gripe about how the subways have been lately, but let me tell you something. The subways seem like paradise compared to the Long Island Railroad, all right? Think about all the subway improvements that have happened in the past 5 years, all right? The other day, I actually took a nice little walk over to Hudson Yards, the new subway station there for the number 7 line for Hudson Yards by Jacob Javits, and it is absolutely amazing. Beautiful station. It's very deep. You have to take a long escalator down, but it's a beautiful station. I get on the 7 train, and why I was doing that was because of delays. I went on a hike in New Jersey on Wednesday. Well, I'm going to leave this to the later part of this news update. But I'll just say this, that the station was beautiful. Very nicely maintained. I got on the 7 train, 7 Express to Woodside, where I caught my Long Island Railroad train. And the 7 train was, I mean, clean, much cleaner than the Long Island Railroad, all right? The platforms I see look much better than the Long Island Railroad looks. And the subway seems, and it really was not overly crowded. This was around, I guess, 9 o'clock at night or something like that. So it was not overly crowded at all. And I get off at Woodside. And I guess I do have to talk about what happened that night because I missed, this is what happens. Wednesday I went for a hike in New Jersey, and I was coming back, and the bus hit a lot of traffic at Port Authority. And usually the bus gets into Port Authority and I have enough time to catch the 842 train to Westbury, but I missed it. And therefore, instead of just sitting at Penn Station, I decided to walk over to Hudson Yards and, you know, check out that new station, which was really nice. And then I got on the 942 out of Penn at Woodside. So the outrage is this. We have such unfair treatment at the Long Island Railroad, all right? I had to watch as some Babylon trains. There was one Babylon train that came and stopped at Woodside before my train, and the train was empty. So check this out. See how empty this train was. The Babylon train. It's empty. Look at how empty it is. Our train won't look like that. Our train will be packed. So Babylon line gets way too much service, and we don't get enough. See, our train will be packed. That's empty. There's plenty of seats. You see, our train won't look like that. Look at how empty that train is. Okay, because they get a lot of service, right? And then another train passes through a little bit later, like around 9:52. All right, and this is another Babylon train. It was a little busier, but still not all that crowded. Oh, another Babylon train? That's another Babylon train. That one's a little more crowded. Still not that crowded though. It's 2 Babylon trains in a row, man. What the heck? That's ridiculous. That's empty. No one's standing on that train. So here comes the 942 out of Penn, Huntington train. All right, we don't get enough service on the Huntington line. I don't know why we don't get a train every half an hour, why there's an hour gap after the 842. So the train comes, and of course there's people standing, and it's crowded. Yeah, see, it's a lot more crowded than Babylon train. See people standing? Yep. Probably not even going to get a seat. This is what I got to deal with. We don't get enough service on the Huntington branch. Trains are crowded. They're too crowded. People standing. Meanwhile, Babylon branch is half empty. What's wrong with this picture? I think it's pretty ridiculous. So, you see the unfairness here, is that the Long Island Railroad is run very poorly, it is mismanaged, and it is completely inadequate to handle the amount of people that use it, particularly on the main line. Particularly on the main line, it is completely inadequate. So you take a look at the improvements in New York City. All right, you've got the 2nd Avenue subway that just opened. You got the 34th Street Hudson Yards. Now, what new service has opened on the Long Island Railroad in the past 5 years? Can you think of any? Nope, there isn't any new service. This is the problem. The investment goes to the city. That they move at a snail's pace on the Long Island Railroad with these improvements, and we don't get shit. And look at how much we've got to pay for a ticket to New York City, while the subway is modern, it's clean. You generally don't have to wait very long. It's fairly reliable. I know people are going to complain, but let me tell you, it's a lot better than the Long Island Railroad has been lately. The Long Island Railroad has been more crowded. It has been less reliable, and we have to pay a lot of money, and we have to deal with service inequity that makes no sense at all. The Long Island Railroad way of thinking, let's take the Long Island Railroad way of thinking and put it in Queens for a moment with the subways, all right? Because obviously we don't get enough service on the main line, the Huntington branch, the Ronkonkoma branch. The trains are too crowded. We need more service. So think of it this way, all right? I'll compare the main line. Let's compare Queens here for a minute. The main line is the Queens Boulevard line, all right? And the Babylon branch is the L train, all right? So imagine if the L train had much more service than the Queens Boulevard line. This is what it's akin to, all right? So they're not properly distributing the service fairly for the ridership. The Babylon branch continues to get preferential treatment, and I'm going to continue to talk about it because I think it's very unfair. Take today, for example. Today they had a whole slew of extra Babylon trains. One of them I took from Freeport out to Lindenhurst. And I took this picture as we were cruising through Wantaw here. Plenty of seats. The train was mostly empty. I'm sure it wasn't like that on the Ronkonkoma branch or the Huntington branch. It was probably packed because they don't have enough service on the main line. The Long Island Railroad does need this third track project to improve service on the main line. That is true, but they could still, I mean, for instance, what happened the other night here between the 8:42 and the 9:42. It's well after rush hour. They definitely could send another train to Huntington if they wanted to, but they don't. They don't. It's been like this for, the schedules haven't changed for years. I think it's a joke that I don't think that any station in Nassau County should have to deal with hourly service personally. I think in Nassau and Western Suffolk, every station should have at least half hourly service. It's bullshit having to wait an hour for a train. That should not be happening. It's completely unacceptable. So we have that. We have the Long Island Railroad problems, and then another Long Island Railroad problem to talk about out east. There was a Wednesday night. There was a fire at a signal shed by the Mastic Shirley station that damaged the signal system in that area, and I think there's a siding there, so it's hampered their ability to send trains through there and have them meet or whatever. And so there's been 30 to 60 minute delays because of this. This is an ongoing issue. It needs to be fixed because we are now in the summer season. People are going out to the Hamptons, and I'm sure it must be a huge mess now. They need to get on that and fix that as well. Misplaced priorities at the Long Island Railroad. The pocket track, which was completed a year ago at Massapequa, sits unused. Meanwhile, there are much more important projects that should have been completed by now on the Long Island Railroad that would have benefited a lot more people. But instead it went to waste on this pocket track at Massapequa, which isn't even used right now, and they could have completed some other more important projects, particularly on the main line. So again, you still got this special treatment of the Babylon branch that it's absolutely ridiculous. And then we have to deal with Nice Bus. Nice Bus sucks. It's unreliable. Lately this week has been really bad. I've actually seen a lot of buses once again with no air conditioning on it. I actually had the pleasure of having to ride this bus today on the N35 for a little bit. It must have been 90 degrees in there. There was no air conditioning. It was hot as hell in there. They don't care. They don't care about what they're doing to us with these bus service cuts. People lose their jobs. People have lost their jobs. More people are on welfare. This costs the government more when you cut bus service. But the stupid people in Nassau County and the stupid people in New York State just refuse to see it that way. Cuomo sends millions and millions of dollars on these stupid projects to add cell phone Wi-Fi to train stations when we have train service along with bus service that is suffering a great deal. Cuomo is trying to fool you into thinking that, well, I'm going to help you. No, the problems are all your fault, Mr. Cuomo. They are all your fault because you haven't funded the bus system, you haven't funded the MTA, And the blame goes to the state Senate and the state assembly too for this shit, because you haven't funded things properly, and that's why we're reaching what we call a critical point right now, where everything is starting to fail and fall apart. And what lies at stake is the economy of this state. All right. Ed Mangano obviously has caused a great deal of pain to the people here in Long Island. He has been one of the worst people to ever influence government in this county, to run the government, and the cuts to the bus service are completely unacceptable. And I would like nothing better than to see Mr. Mangano be sent to prison for the rest of his life. And hopefully the finger will go to Cuomo, and Cuomo will be next. Cuomo, you're next to go to prison, all right, for this shit that's going on right now. All right, this is completely unacceptable. I mean, buses with no AC, having people lose their jobs because they can't get to work because the bus was cut. Now they're on welfare. It costs the state more money, but just too stupid and short-sighted to see it that way. So it just annoys me what's going on and seeing the transportation fall apart here in this state because of this bullshit. You know, the whole nice bus thing, well, now it's happening in the city where you're having all these problems too. Because you don't fund things properly. This is what happens when you don't fund things properly. All right? So that's what I have to say about the whole public transportation thing going on right now. I'll get to some good news here in a little bit here. Uber has gotten the green light now to operate in Long Island, so that's good. The good news is that the Nassau and Suffolk did not file any opt-out objections, so Uber is now running in Nassau and Suffolk County, which is good. It offers an alternative to these rip-off taxi gypsy thieves, and of course the taxis, they're desperate now. They're trying to sue to stop Uber from coming out here. These guys are crooks. I think people see through it. And I think Uber will do well, and I think the taxis, if they want to stay in business, better clean up their act. All right. So that's that on that. And then we have some other issues here. Let's see. All right. Yeah. Pine Barrens. Some good news here in the Pine Barrens. The state assembly and state senate have approved almost unanimously to expand the Long Island Pine Barrens core preservation area by, I think, 1,000 acres or more. This is going to preserve the woods at Shoreham. This is going to preserve some woods in Mastic because LIPA and National Grid wanted to try to put solar. They wanted to cut the trees down and put solar panels there, which I think is bullshit. Because you're negating any benefit of saving carbon emissions by cutting down all the trees that absorb carbon dioxide to put up the solar panels. There are plenty of places to put solar panels, plenty of parking lots all over Long Island, plenty of buildings, and you could have plenty of solar energy that way. But once you start destroying wilderness to put solar projects in, then it becomes an issue. That's something I'm going to be against. So this legislation awaits Governor Cuomo's signature. Cuomo, you better approve this, all right, because it is almost unanimous in the state legislature, and I would be very surprised if he tried to veto this bill. If he did, it would really show he's a real asshole, all right, and, Cuomo has shown that he usually does want to, we'll give him credit on this, that he is putting money toward stopping the pine beetles. It seems like he's putting more resources into protecting the Long Island Pine Barrens, so I am happy with that, so I expect that he will sign this legislation. And so we come to the last part of this video where I'll talk about what I was going to talk about. So it remains frustrating for me living where I'm living. It remains a challenge. It remains difficult to live in this town. And the hate comments. I'm not going to go over. I know one of my I think it was Long Island Elevator. I forgot his name already. I'm sorry if I forgot your name. I know he wanted me to show his replies to that crazy lady that was posting on here. I don't want to give her any more time. All right, she's blocked. That's all there is to it. All right, but the unfortunate thing is that there are people out there that seem to think that because I'm mentally ill and because I have this disability that I don't have a right to speak out. I don't have a right to request living somewhere that I'll be happier. And it's sad because these people don't understand that mental illness You make mental illness worse if the person is not happy where they're living. So when you're living in a place like this town here for Westbury, it's pretty damn depressing, you know, and the lack of affordable housing and the extreme discrimination that I'm facing trying to relocate out of this town, you know, is something that upsets me a great deal. It makes me very angry, and I'm going to keep talking about it as long as I'm stuck living here, because, you know, it's so depressing. You go to a town, I mean, so we come to Wednesday. I'm going to the train in the morning, and there's literally nobody around. There's nobody at the train station. It's empty. The parking lot is empty. You know, this is around a little after 7 in the morning. Most parking lots in most of the towns are full. It's a ghost town now, huh? It's not that early in the morning. It's 7:02. Nobody out. Now let's see what's happened here. They're not loitering right now, but let's take a look at the mess that has been made here. Just look at that. Just look at all that trash. In a normal town, you might have people coming and getting coffee, and, you know, on their way to the train. Here, you got nothing. Nothing but that. Nothing but that. Hanging around. Yeah, look at all the space that's still available. Here we are. It's it's 8 minutes before the train comes, and there's no one. There's no one. Then you go to the other stations, and you see a lot more people waiting for the train.
Okay. He just refuses every
So this makes me worried about the service in Westbury. What is the future of train service in Westbury? If these problems keep, you know, people don't want to come here because the town has no life in it. No life. I come back at night, a little after 10 o'clock at night. It's a beautiful evening, and yet look, there's nobody out. Welcome back to the ghost town. There's nobody. Nobody. Look at that. There's not even a car on the street. It's completely a ghost town, and I have to walk down Post Avenue, and I would be alone if it wasn't for a couple walking in front of me, and I wanted to stay close to them, because imagine just walking down the street completely and there's nobody, not a car, there's no life here. It is a dead town once the sun goes down. Sure, during the day it seems okay, but at night, let me tell you, it just dies. And we were supposed to get new street lights. I don't know what the hell's going on with that. It's still dark as hell at night. You know, and put yourself in my shoes, having the depression and not being able to find a place in a town that has more life in it, like Farmingdale. You know, I mean, most towns on Long Island that do well have life when the sun goes down. But this town has no life. It is dead. It is devoid of all activity once the sun goes down. It is completely dead, except, of course, for these guys that hang around. You know, they hang around and they're out forced loitering around in that piazza. You know, some of these guys could be gang members, who knows? This town is infested with illegals. It's still infested with illegals. They're not going anywhere because Westbury is a sanctuary city. It's an official sanctuary city, a sanctuary city that I have been fighting to get out of for so many years. All right, and some people think I only deserve to live in the ghetto. Well, you know, to all those people, screw you. All right, screw you. Just because I can't work, just because I have this illness, just because, you know, I'm in a program, does not mean that you have the right to deny me that happiness. You are denying me happiness. Do you see how cruel that is? Do you see how cruel that is? I think it's pretty damn cruel. All right. And for those people who think, well, just leave Long Island, maybe move to New Jersey. It's hot as hell in New Jersey. I do terrible in the heat. All right. Today, for instance, it was like 92 in Toms River. Meanwhile, I was here, it was in the upper 70s. All right. And I went to Toms River on Wednesday, and even then, when it was a little cool, it was still hot there, and I was just dying from the heat. I was just, look at me. I mean, it's so hot there. I don't know what it is. It's just so freaking hot there. I'm used to Long Island's climate. I can't leave Long Island. Unfortunately, that's what it is. There's several factors that keep me here. I can't leave Long Island. And living here remains a challenge. You can't use any of the laundromats because they're disgusting, because all the illegals use them, and there's always gum in the machines, and I've always had gum on my clothes. So I have to wash my clothes in the sink. I have to rely on my relative to get bottled water, because the stores here don't have bottled water. I'm only going to go into the drugstores like CVS. I'm not going to go into Bravo, which is a disgusting, glorified bodega. I mean, look at it. I mean, this is after it closed, obviously, but for the evening. But it's just, I don't want to go in there. I mean, we don't have a place to get food in this town. All right, we don't have. This is a food desert. This town. It is a food desert. We don't have a decent place to get food in this town. All right. So you go to like the village of Massapequa Park, and they have like a little. I mean, it's not a big supermarket, but I think it's an IGA, whatever. It's a decent place. You know, it's a decent place to go in. It's clean. It doesn't smell, and and they have a decent selection. But of course, forget about it. I know I can't. I'm not allowed to live in Massapequa Park after the hell they brought up with that. So I'm not even looking to move into Massapequa Park anymore. Anyway, I mean, there's such inequity on Long Island. You know, I mean, some towns, they're bustling, there's people around, like in Massapequa Park, and then you go to Freeport, and there's no life but guys hanging around. You know, even Lindenhurst is doing great. Even Lindenhurst is people, but wish me luck on this battle. It remains a frustrating situation to deal with, and it's hard on me. It's very hard on me. You don't know how much I cry every night. You don't see when I'm sick. You don't see any of that in these videos. I'm not going to show you that, all right? It's too personal for me, all right? But I need to get out of here, all right? I can't stay here forever, and it feels like I'm getting nowhere, all right? Once I get out of here, you're not going to see me rant so much anymore. In fact, once I get out of here, I'm not even going to make videos about this subject. I'm only going to talk about the environment and transportation. Forget about the social issues subject anymore, right? But as long as I'm struggling here, I have to vent to you guys somewhat about what I'm going through and how unfair this is, all right? Maybe some of you think it's perfectly okay what I'm going through here. But I don't think it's fair at all that I'm stuck in a town with gangs, stuck in a town with illegals, stuck in a town with no life at all once the sun goes down. It is depressing here. There's no girls. There's nothing. There's nothing here. You know, and I know there are worse places. I know Hempstead is way worse. I know that. But I'm really trying, and it's so frustrating, and I wish someone would have helped me. You know, instead I just get attacked. I mean, name gets dragged through the mud, and I continue to suffer with nasty people sending me hurtful messages, trying to make me scared, trying to troll me or try to whatever. It's because of people like you that some mentally ill wind up killing themselves. That's right, it's because of people like you. But you know, I'm way too strong for that. I am way too strong for that. There's way too much to live for on this planet, especially the Pine Barrens. I love the Pine Barrens, and I can't live far away from them. Some people suggested moving to places that don't have pine. No, that's not going to happen, all right? I want to stay right here on Long Island. I want to find a town that I feel comfortable living in. That is my right. That is my God-given right. I don't care whoever tries to deny that. That is my right to live where I want, where I'm comfortable, where I can feel better, and maybe even get better. But some people don't even want me to get better. They just put me down constantly. All right, I'm sorry I ranted there. I really am. But I'm just tired of being stuck here. I really am tired of it. And it's a shame because there are a lot of good people in Westbury. But this town is just never going to turn around. You know, it's just the same old shit over and over again. You know, other towns have life. They have people. Massapequa Park, I pass by on the train, there's people dining outside. Here, there's none of that. There is no life. The only people you see outside are a bunch of illegals hanging out, drinking, and staring at people, trying to intimidate them, because these illegals, they own this town. They own this town. You know what? You can have it. I just want to leave. That's it, guys. Have a good night, and take it easy.